Welcome, welcome back to Crafting a Meaningful Life. And do I have a show for you today? I have my dear friend Anne Marie McDonald with us today, and she is in the middle of crafting the most magnificent life. And every step I have found as I've talked with her and I listened to her is very thoughtful, very deliberate in how she wants to craft her life and what she's done to this point. So I want to welcome her onto the show and have you enjoy the wisdom that I've been enjoying from Anne Marie. Welcome, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here and having this conversation.
Well, Anne Marie, you and I met like quite a long time ago when your father was the governor of the state of Utah for 11 years, probably one of the longest standing governors. And I used to cater in the mansion, and that goes back a long ways. You were 9 at the time.
That's
And
correct.
I kind of lost track of you after that. And I had no idea that you were kind of over here on the side, kind of keeping track of me. We saw each other a while ago at an event, and you were like, "Hi, Mary." And I'm like, my goodness, look at you all grown up. And it's been now a couple, 3 decades since then.
It has.
And
And I have admired you and watched you from the governor's mansion kitchen to BYU TV to your podcast, social media. You are a force, and I look to your light.
thank you, Anne Marie. And I think that that's one of the best things about relationships, when you mirror and shine and reflect other people's light. Because I want to shine and reflect your light as well. So I want everyone, first of all, just to know a little bit about you. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing now, where you came from, where you're going, all wrapped in one.
Yes. So, as you mentioned, a very unique fact about me is that when I was 9 years old, my dad was elected governor of the state of Utah. And I had the lucky opportunity to be his plus one at several different events. And so I was in the room where magic happened.
Yeah.
And I've watched him and the way that he leads, and I've learned several different things from him and my wonderful mother. And
Yeah.
really the team that worked alongside him for the 3 different terms. And I have always known that I have had this entrepreneur hustle. And I started my first business at 11 years old doing the nails and of the neighbors around me, talking to them and building this business. And so I really had this entrepreneur itch from the beginning. I loved people and I loved business. And I've cultivated that and built several different businesses. And I'm still building businesses now and helping other entrepreneurs build theirs.
Yeah. Well, maybe I need your help in building mine. Because I told you before we started that I actually think I'm going to launch this as a business now instead of just a hobby. And that you're out there helping other people, entrepreneurs, find their dream and you're living your dream now. So how did that look like for you when you first started down that road? Utah is not always the easiest place for a young woman,
Right.
entrepreneur, to set her path down that road of being large and in charge.
That's true. And it has been through some weathered wisdom and lessons that I am intentional now about my time and crafting, as you said, my path. And when I first started, I would say the first business that I started as I mentioned, I'd started little businesses along the way. But at 30, I identified a market of building a speaking bureau. And it was the first business that I put my marketing, negotiation, and just business sense together. and thought, I am going to build a speaking agency. So basically, I would find talent and get the biggest conferences to hire me to get them the right speaker to deliver the right message.
Yeah.
And when I started the business, I did it because at first I wanted to earn some extra money. My husband was in grad school, and I just thought, well, I can do this. And I would tell myself constantly, I think I can. I think I can. And it ultimately turned into knowing I know I can.
Yeah.
But I know I can because I'm bringing people along with me so that my talents along with others together, we can build something big and beautiful. And that's what I was able to do with this speaking bureau, which then I sold and moved on to different opportunities. But I think the transition of thinking I think I can to I know I can with the right people was key in this adventure for me.
That's very similar to kind of the story of most entrepreneurs and my entrepreneur story. I did not have any experience at all in being a caterer or in the hospitality industry, but it was a passion. And that's oftentimes where entrepreneurs start, with a passion. What is a passion that they have? And I thought, well, I think I can do this. I think I can. And I always tell people, I kind of felt like I was faking it for the first 15 years. And then finally one day you wake up and say, I not only can do this, I'm darn good at what I do. And then you kind of claim all that you have. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think what you identified as, it's a passion and you are good at it. You're uniquely good at it. And it just becomes effortless to you. People often will have a hard time identifying that because it's effortless, right? You could entertain, you could host, and it felt so effortless that perhaps you had to convince yourself that this was your gift. And until you recognized, I'm stepping into this because it is my gift in a big way.
So as you work with entrepreneurs, how do you get them to identify what their passion is, what they can be an entrepreneur in? How do you help them find that?
Well, the most important thing is that they understand that their voice holds power. And if they understand their power, then they identify their purpose. And through that joint recipe, they become unstoppable.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of my experience. Once I claimed my power and how good I was at it, then for the next 35 years, I moved to the top of my game and stayed there.
It's easier to say now that you've claimed the power, but when you're in it, you're proving it. And I have definitely climbed through that the notion of proving it until, as you said, you wake up one day and you think, I'm there. I did it.
Yeah, this is it. I'm really good at what I do. Yeah.
Right.
So what's next for you?
So I spend quite a bit of my time helping entrepreneurs build their business and capture funding. And so I have a consulting agency that we consult in marketing, and that's called AMP Growth. And then I have a venture fund called MAM Capital, and MAM Capital invests in businesses that we believe in and that I consult we consult with.
Right.
So I'm continuing to grow AMP Growth and also helping founders with their own journey in funding.
Wow. So you're working big business a lot. So coming from that point that I had first talked about, of that it's not always easy in Utah to become an empowered woman, an entrepreneur, to where you are today. Anne Marie, that's a long journey. That's a lot of growth. And what do you feel like were the characteristics inside of you that allowed you to claim this?
Wow, that's a beautiful question. And I think that the answer would be I've been able to embrace each step. Some steps have been very difficult. I've experienced sexual harassment in my career, workplace trauma. I've had to learn how to trust my voice and lean into that strength. And I think the characteristics that I have gone back to is that resilience of I know I can. And when I have been stretched, then I have reached to lean on someone else to help me rise again. So resilience and leaning on mentors and just getting up and doing it again really are the characteristics that I have been able to just rise and step into.
Well, I think you just gave the key formula that everyone needs to experience this in their life. And so let's go back to you. Thank you for being vulnerable enough to say, I've experienced this sexual issue in my workplace. It was traumatizing. So the existence of struggle.
Deep struggle. And loneliness in that moment, thinking, how am I the victim? I'm a smart woman. How did this happen to me? And then just realizing it wasn't me. I'm not the victim. This is not my fault. And using that as a catalyst for growth and purpose.
So many times people cling to those struggles as their fault, as that they're a victim, and that's, especially in terms of sexual abuse, sexual assault, sexual harassment, women are told that this is your fault.
Right.
How many times have we heard transcripts from court hearings where you have a female victim and she's been asked by the prosecution, or not by the prosecution, by the defendant's attorneys, well, tell us about the clothes you had on. Tell us about the clothes you had on. That I don't understand. Well, did you wear skirts above the knee? I mean, turning the light inward to her, that this was something that she wanted and welcomed in. And the shift is happening, Anne Marie, of us starting to believe victims. But that's a huge part of it, is that being able to be strong enough to wield those off. And that this is a struggle for me, but this is not my fault.
Right. And then healing from that. After that happened, I walked and was very careful about healing from what had happened. It was so it was so shocking that it happened to me.
Yeah.
But it did. And it happens. There's no one ever chooses that it does happen to them. But then they have to heal from it and find that voice and understand their own power. And I was able to do that, but it was very difficult. Mm-hmm. It was very lonely.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, when it happened, I wished I was angry that I was a woman. Honestly, I just thought if I could have just shown up as a man with this brain that I have, I could have just really gotten things done.
Yeah.
But through healing, I realized, no, there is power in femininity. There is power in who I am. And I'm going to do it differently. And that is what I came here to do.
Not an easy time for you. And as we go through the struggle and we embrace it as our form of healing for growth. What would you say? How do you talk to women who are in the middle of, say, the struggle piece of it, of the different steps? Because then you went through the healing, and then you built your resilience, which all of those things where I'm like, just like ticking off the road, the map. But the women who are in the struggle and are yearning to move through the healing, what are your words for them?
My words for them are, you were made for growth, and you were made for beautiful and incredible things. Put one foot in front of the other. And every step, whether big or small, is direction. It doesn't matter the pace.
Yeah. I feel like you're giving one of my best public speeches that I give. You know what I mean? Because I relate it to climbing Kilimanjaro. And I was the slowest on my climbing team. But it didn't matter the speed. I got to the summit just the same way they did, one step at a time. Yeah, that is such a powerful thought.
And timing is different for everyone. And I think that needs to be brought out. As you said, you got there and you weren't as fast as others. Yeah. Me, I had, my 20s were spent having children.
Yeah.
So I didn't really dive in, and my brain didn't unlock this business potential until my 30s.
Yeah.
So and then honestly, in my 40s, another part of my brain unlocked. Timing is different for everyone in this journey.
It's true. And so I think that comparison that we sometimes do, geez, look where she is at this point, that's one of the great gifts I have, is that I'm able to say to people, I built my business in my 30s and then in my 40s, but in my 50s, I built me. And in my 60s, I refined me. And in my 70s, I'm relishing me. And
that's the dream.
It is. And that everybody's timing is so different. And people who say, oh, it's too late for me, or I don't have this, or I don't have that. The excuses are the biggest tool in the tool belt of the victim. Do you know what I mean? Excuse. But come stand toe to toe with each woman who has now moved through the struggle piece. Not that the struggle is over. There's just new struggles, different struggles. But that what we've learned, Anne Marie, and I think you would agree with this, that what we have learned is the how to deal with the struggles that now come. They're different, but I have a different tool belt. I don't need excuses anymore. I have different tools in my tool belt. So what tools do you have in your belt now?
So the tools the tools that I have in my belt is that I ask myself questions along the way. Am I happy? Am I giving back? Am I growing? And I'm very clear with intention and understanding that I want, I'm going somewhere. So number one, the tools I have, I would say the questions. I make sure that I'm aligned with myself. 2, I trust my instincts. If as I mentioned, I was in a very disappointing situation, and in various different times in my life that have seemed off, I have had to trust my instincts and find my voice, even when I felt lonely, even when I've been scared, even when it's been unfair. And I've had to listen to my own voice and trust my instincts.
Powerful.
And I would say the third tool that I have learned and that I take time for is human connection. I love people. People matter to me. I want to leave this planet by helping others, leaving them better than I found them. It is friendship and the moment where a heart meets another heart and just has that pure moment of I appreciate you and or I learned from you. That to me is the very best part of life. And so I would say that third tool of really dialing in, especially with AI and all of our gadgets and all of the fancy things that we have, to realize nothing's going to be replaced. Nothing will replace investing in human connection.
Yeah. It is the very best, Anne Marie. And I think now, when I think about doing new things, those new things are simply additional ways for me to connect with people. At this point in time, making money is not my big thing, like it's in your career days. But human connection, to be able to lift another. If I spend the rest of my, what I'm considering 34 years on this planet to 105, and that's what I get to do, wow. That's so beautiful for me. But it's a process.
It's a process.
And one of the things,
it takes time. You can't just make a friend and without that investment, right? You've got to really carve out that investment and it matters, right? That you do that.
One of the things that it's one of my tools that I have found that I love the most, I cherish, I get it out every day, is to actually see people. For so many years, I looked past people. I saw them, but then I looked past them to see what was next. Who do I talk to next? What is what is on my to-do list next? I did not really see people and allow their spirit to speak to me.
I actually think that what you've identified is the number one most important thing about human connection is if you see someone and you really see them, they notice.
Yeah.
And it empowers them in such a way that they want to be around you because you see them and that because it's unique. We just don't dial it down enough to know and that the importance of stopping, seeing, loving.
Yeah. The power of that is absolutely, well, it's unsurpassed by anything.
Mm-hmm. When my son left the nest, I had my first one leave.
Okay, can I just say though, you look 29, and that you've had someone leave the nest is like totally beyond me. Okay,
that is kind of you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. But what this journey has taught me with this oldest child that just left is he had said, I mean, I haven't been perfect. We all are not perfect. Yeah. But the thing
we're not meant to be.
We're not meant to be.
Yeah.
But the thing that I'm most proud of is that he gave me the honor of saying, I hope I can love people like you love people, Mom. Oh. And I thought that's all I ever, that's it. That's all I want is that you see that I welcome and love and will embrace someone for being uniquely them. Thank you. That's really, that was a real gift that he gave to me because it matters.
Yeah. Yeah. Just yesterday I was at an event with a bunch of women and I was walking through the room, kind of saying hi to the people I knew. I saw this one woman. I don't know why, but I was just drawn to her. I stopped. I reached out my hand just to take her hand and to say, hi, how are you? Mm. And then I kind of moved on and then at the end of the event, she found me and came up to me and she said, I don't know why you stopped to say hello to me because I could see you in the room. Everyone knew you. You knew everyone. And yet you stopped for me. Mm-hmm. Thank you. How powerful is that? That's the power that each of us have every single day.
And
To
that's
give
what makes
that
our
gift.
yes, and it really just makes our world beautiful to know that there's different people and we can love them and see them for who they are and who they're showing up to be that day.
Yeah. It's the best thing ever. And that's who you are. You radiate that. And
Thank
since that first day when we reconnected about 6 months ago,
Yes.
I've been watching you. And I've seen you at different places. I see you on LinkedIn. And you show up.
I try because I want others to find their voice, and I love celebrating people. So I show up to celebrate people and find their voice. Really,
I love that. Okay, so one of the things you talked about was building resilience. I know
Yes.
you have that in your tool belt.
Yes.
This is an interesting concept, though. We spend time to build resilience so that we can weather the storms, but we also then think we're going to get past the storms. So, what is the point of building resilience if we get to the point of no more storms? So, is that a correct principle that we are moving past the storms? Will we not need resilience? Do we always need? I mean, tell me your
Right.
thoughts on that.
I haven't always, but I have come to know that it is the storms that have taught me and been able to allow me to empathize with others in a way that I never would have before. When I was deep in the workplace trauma, it was so painful that I experienced anxiety for the first time. Real flu-like, wet, cold anxiety.
Yeah.
It was so uncomfortable. It was so uncomfortable. But I look back and I think, as awful as that was, that I could barely take myself out for a walk as I was navigating through this. If someone comes to me and they say, I am going through this storm, my level of empathy
Yeah.
and understanding is greater than I could have ever imagined. So if you look for the lesson in the storm and you understand somehow, if you can possibly think, how is this going to help me? Which is so difficult. And it wasn't until a long time later that I was able to look back and think, I can see the lesson, but I always try to identify, what is this teaching me and how will it help me love others?
Yeah.
I think that's how I keep that storm sword tool sharp.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we need to sit around and worry about storms coming, but because they do evolve. Like, for example, with your storm, the struggle that you experienced with your sexual harassment. That is what we call a freight train. And it broadsided you. You
It
didn't
did.
expect it. Yeah.
I didn't. No, I couldn't believe it. I honestly, I think that's what the most surprising thing was, is I am very aware of my surroundings and what's happening. You know, as you mentioned, my dad was governor when I turned 9. I have seen business. I have built businesses. I'm not just some newbie here. Like when it happened, I couldn't believe I was in the Wild West. I didn't even know I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
So that was the freight train.
it was the freight train.
And then from that, you have built some real tools, some resilience. You've began to heal. You've grown empathy. But I'm sure that was not the last of your struggles, nor
Right.
will be.
Right.
But what now, as I see that we get to do, is we get to continue to learn. We don't have to have another freight train if we're aware.
Right.
We get to have pinpricks. And I pray for that all the time. Can I learn from the whispers? Can I use my intuition, the one that you talked about, where my heart is speaking to me, my heart and brain intuition, not my gut intuition that's full of fear, but my heart and brain intuition. And if I'm listening, I can learn from the whisperings rather than the freight trains. And that, for me, is the greatest gift that struggle gives us, to learn gentler. What do you see now as the struggles, or do you anticipate in yet in front of you, that all those tools now are going to be yours forever to use as you walk through this life?
I see a confidence that I can handle really hard things, and that I can help others when they're lacking the confidence to help them navigate hard things.
Yeah. I love that, because that's exactly what resilience is. It's a confidence. I can do hard things. I did this, which was really hard. I can surely do this. And also you can instill that confidence in others. That's one of your great gifts, Anne Marie, that people see you, see what you've navigated through, and say, I can do that. That gift of vulnerability that you have offered to my listeners and as you walk through life is the greatest gift that you have for others. Not to appear perfect. Hi, I was the daughter of the governor at 9. I got to go to what school I wanted. I got to have children, and I was married, and then this, and pretty much life has been great for me. That helps no one. Okay?
Right.
Other than to put it like, oh God, I don't have that.
Right.
But your willingness to be vulnerable and to be naked in front of people is the greatest gift that you have. You give people hope.
Well, I do it because it's important that my story can help someone else understand that they have a powerful voice and they were made for growth.
They were made for growth. Can everyone that's listening remember that? That is actually what this is all about. You were made for growth. And you're not made to have just the easy life. You're not made to, not have a fairy godmother that takes away every single problem you're ever going to encounter.
Right.
We're made for growth. Anne Marie, there were two things that I wanted to spend the last little bit of time with, and I don't know if we're going to be able to delve into them the way I want to, but I want to try. And that is, you've done some posting recently on your LinkedIn about trust. And how do you feel trust plays into what we're talking about, but more importantly, sometimes those kind of big words like trust and love and kindness, we have a perception do not belong in the workplace. They're what you want to have at home, in your neighborhood, with your friends, with your family, but they leave us when we step into the business world. They're not the things we focus on. Share with me your thoughts on that.
So I am rooted in the value of I say what I'm going to do, and then I do it. I believe that with my family, in the community, as I'm building a team. That trust is the way that you then lead. And so if you are able to understand that you are someone who in every moment they can trust, then they will trust you in a boardroom, as a parent, as a leader. It never changes. Even when it's uncomfortable, people know they can trust me because I'll do the hard thing. I'll say the thing that needs to be said.
I love that they trust you because you can and will do the hard things.
I will.
You won't take the
And
easy way out.
it's, for me, it's an honesty thing. It's,
Yeah.
I'm not going to not do the right thing. If I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And that's how you unlock potential for yourself and for everyone around you.
Yes. Explain that piece right there for me. How does trust unlock everyone else's potential?
Because they'll follow you and watch you and watch your ability to lead, right? I just saw this video where Colin Powell is talking about how he was able to lead and do difficult things and have soldiers follow him into the darkest of nights and in the scariest of rooms. And he was scared, but he did it. He led because he knew it needed to be done and people trusted him. And he showed up in a really consistent way. So I think that right there is the recipe to establish not only a great reputation because people will trust you, but a following where people rise because they want to be around people that they can trust and that will help bring out the best in them.
Yes, absolutely. Right? I love it when we rise to the occasion and overcome fear because others are depending on us. That's a different look into overcoming fear. Sometimes we do it for ourselves and different reasons, but when we do it because we know others are depending on us,
right?
That is, I remember when I was young women's leader and we took my young women's group and all the leaders out to Camp Williams, to the boot camp. And we were doing all this stuff and I was, feeling pretty confident about it. And it came time to go up the ladder, which was like 15 stories up, and do a free fall jump out. Yikes. And I'm like, wow, okay. So I head up this thing. First of all, climbing the ladder was like incredibly, you get to a little platform and go to another ladder, was incredibly difficult for me. But, I was managing it. And when I got to the platform and I looked out and I thought, I absolutely cannot do this.
Yeah.
Because it's a free fall and just like 10 feet above the ground that the harness catches you.
I'm nervous you're telling me this story.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, okay, I am going to say everyone should go first. I'll bring up the rear. I'll be up here to encourage you to jump. That's what my position is going to be. And then at the end, there wasn't time for me, so I had to come back down. I really was formulating this whole thing of and when I turned around to tell this group about what I was going to do, I could see that they were more scared than I was.
Yes.
And the look in those young women's faces and in the leaders' faces, if I did not jump, they would not either. They were depending on me.
Right.
So I got the harness on and I just went. Screamed the whole way down, peed my pants. When I got down there and a cadet had to come over and take my harness off me, I'm like, I'm so sorry. And he goes, don't worry about it, ma'am. He said, the best soldiers have this happen to them. And as I turned to look up to see one after another of those young women and the leaders come out, I thought, my fear was overcome because someone was depending on me. Mm-hmm. And that, when you can do that, you never forget that lesson. Yeah. Much like Colin Powell and much like you, as you have led forth. You people in your company, in your family, people that you work with, they see your courage. They see your willingness to stand in the face of whatever is brought. And they want to follow with you and be behind you. I love that.
Thank you. I love that you identified the word courage. I think it is so important that we tell ourselves, I have the courage to do this.
Yeah.
And lean into the courage I think courage is a big part of how we move one foot in front of the other, even if it's a shuffle,
Yeah.
even if it's a sidestep. You have to just dig deep and just say, I have the courage to move. I trust my instincts to move, to do this.
Yeah.
Important.
I think that's the great gift you bring.
Thank you. And you to jump. You had the courage to jump and to trust.
I did. But I didn't think I did. But when people were relying on you, you do. You step up. All right. We just have 1 second left. And I want you to tell me about the gift of kindness that you learned from your grandmother. And through all of these things, how kindness has been one of your great gifts you give.
Kindness allows the ability to see others for who they are and where they are. And I make a real effort to always be kind, to give the benefit of the doubt. Even when a text message comes through and I start to decode it and I think, well, that was kind of harsh. I think, no, I will give the benefit of the doubt and show kindness. Always.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I'm a pushover. I want that to be clear. I am firm.
Oh, I'm clear. I'm clear about that.
I'm clear.
Yeah.
There's a difference between kindness and being a pushover.
Yes.
But
absolutely.
It's amazing the opportunities that will come your way just by simply being kind. And as you identified, seeing someone for who they are and celebrating them for their unique passion and gifts. As we brought up at the very beginning, if we can celebrate others, there's enough for all of us. Let's just be kind.
Absolutely.
And in a world that's so divisive, there has to be kindness.
Yes. We can move past differences through kindness. Yeah. Anne Marie, I could talk to you for the rest of the day. You know that. So lunch soon?
Yes. This was a treat. Thank you.
Right. And thank you for being with us here today. And we've included at the end of this podcast her LinkedIn and several different ways that you can reach out and be connected to Anne Marie and all of her light and all of her kindness and all of her beauty. I trust this woman. Why? Because she is trustworthy. She's lived the kind of life that says to me, I stand for what I stand for. I am nothing less and nothing more. But that she is kind through all of it is one of her greatest gifts to us. Thank you for your vulnerability, Anne Marie. And to all of my listeners, remember, we each have one life we get to craft here and make sure that it ends up being meaningful, purposeful, and filled with love. Namaste.
Crafting a meaningful life.